Hello and welcome to the 6th edition on News Central TV, broadcasting live from our studios in Abuja. I'm Nel Taigbe. Our top stories at this hour. A court in Rivers State halts impeachment process against Governor Fubara and his deputy. Kuje residents demand practical governance, infrastructural solutions ahead of February elections in the FCT. Museveni takes commanding lead in Uganda elections as Bobi Wine alleges fraud. I have details in a moment. Do stay with us. A Rivers State High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has issued an interim injunction against the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Martins Amewule, and 32 others, including the Clerk of the Assembly and the Chief Judge. The court barred the Chief Judge, Justice Simeon Chibuzo Amadi, from receiving or acting on any request or document linked to an impeachment movement against the governor and his deputy for 7 days. Justice F.A. Feberesima gave the order while ruling on an ex parte motion filed separately by Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Mma-Odu. The judge also approved substituted service of court papers on the lawmakers at the Assembly quarters and on the Chief Judge through staff at his chambers within the High Court premises. Meanwhile, earlier today, before the court injunctions, the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly vowed to press ahead with the impeachment process against Governor Fubara and his deputy. The lawmakers, speaking at a press conference in Port Harcourt, accused the governor of blackmail and said he lacked the trust needed to address the state's ongoing crisis. They also alleged that Fubara and his deputy had infringed on the 1999 Constitution and resorted to intimidating the parliament, leaving lawmakers no choice but to exercise their legislative powers. At plenary, the members unanimously voted to investigate allegations of gross misconduct against the governor and his deputy, and 4 lawmakers who had earlier called for a political solution recanted and declared support for the impeachment process. The House also thanked President Bola Tinubu for intervening in the crisis and called on the Speaker, Martins Amewule, to reconvene the Assembly.
By this voting, the Rivers State House of Assembly has resolved that investigations against allegations of gross misconduct leveled against His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara, Governor of Rivers State, should proceed to the next level, which is investigation. And by virtue of Section 188, subsection 5, I will ensure that the resolution of this House is immediately communicated to the Chief Judge of Rivers State.
Staying in Rivers State, this fresh dose of tension is coming just days after the state returned to democratic governance following 6 months of emergency rule. The impeachment threats, claims that the governor has refused to present the 2026 budget are just a few of the issues that have got the residents worried about the state's stability. Our News Central correspondent, Biola Festus, reports.
On December 27, 2025, Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, began a tour of council areas in Rivers State on what he termed an appreciation visit to his allies for supporting his choice candidates during the 2023 general elections. While the embattled governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, was his anointed governorship candidate at the time, Wike said he came back to inform the people that Fubara was a political mistake and told them of a change in plan.
We have made a mistake in this state. We won't kill ourselves, but we'll correct the mistake this time around.
Intriguingly, 2 weeks into Wike's tour, the State House of Assembly reconvened on January 8 ahead of the earlier scheduled date and commenced impeachment proceedings against the governor and his deputy, Ngozi Odu.
Did they report to the leadership of the party at the national? If the state cannot say anything, what about the national? They report before coming up with impeachment notice, but they should know that they belong to a party. If there's any problem, any crisis, any challenge, they should first of all meet the leadership of the party.
While political watchers in the state have pinpointed Wike as the mastermind behind the renewed political hostilities, stakeholders warned that the state will bear the brunt.
It took the governor long time, years, for him to sacrifice obedience, humility to serve the former governor, which is the FCT minister today. For the FCT minister to find him worthy, trusted to hand over the mandate of Rivers to him, he expected that humility will continue. But for obvious reasons, maybe something must have triggered the reason why this misconception and this conflict is fighting back and the rest. So I will want to advise that the governor should understand the music that his boss used to dance and play it to the boss.
Since the notice of impeachment, Governor Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu have both maintained silence on the matter. However, 4 lawmakers out of the 26 that supported the impeachment motion have backed out.
I therefore speak to the conscience of the governor of Rivers State and her deputy to retrace their steps and govern in line with the Constitution and keep all agreements entered with the supervision of Mr. President.
We hereby state our willingness to look at a political solution rather than an outright removal of the due. We call on our members to also consider this approach. We do not say this as a sign of weakness, but because we have forgiving hearts and as mothers.
Meanwhile, political watchers worry that as the instability lingers, the economic landscape of the state has nosedived significantly.
We should be asking people that have led us for accountability, for them to give account of stewardship, how they have led our states, not project that they have done, but just opposing the income that was generated within that time when they control the states and what is on the ground. It is not until when there is a commensurate link and equity, then you can now say that, okay, you have done very well. Not when somebody had received maybe 5 trillion or 6 trillion, and what is on ground is just some hundreds of billions.
Residents have as well called for restraints on both sides to allow actual governance in the state.
The polity in Rivers State is getting to a boiling point for the 3rd time in 3 years. During the first and second round, both fielding parties, Governor Siminalayi Fubara and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, belonged to the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and then came the intervention of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. For this 3rd round, which just began, both parties have moved to the All Progressives Congress, APC, the party of the president. Now the question is, will the president intervene for the 3rd time, or will he consider this as insubordination, owing to the fact that he had intervened 2 times in the previous years? Interesting days may be ahead for Rivers politics. From Port Harcourt, for News Central, Viola Festus.
Well, that's a package put together by our correspondent, Viola Festus. Now, the entire situation in Rivers State is still a mystery to some people and not to some others. Relying on Section 188(26), lawmakers signed a notice of gross misconduct. They accused the governor of budget violations, illegal spending without assembly approval, institutional sabotage, including the 2023 demolition of the assembly complex and swearing in of 19 commissioners and an attorney general while bypassing protocol, ignoring Supreme Court rulings on financial autonomy. He is also accused of withholding salaries of lawmakers and the assembly clerk. With the speaker ordering the notice to be served within 7 days, the state is heading to a major constitutional test. Well, the notice has now been served, and they have vowed to go ahead with that impeachment. What exactly is going on? I'm being joined in the studio by Vincent Otaopupu, a legal practitioner. Thank you for joining us, Vincent.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start from what some will say is the funny side. In the first and second round, my colleague was talking about of this impeachment exercise. The two parties, the governor and the legislators, were in one party. In this third attempt, the governor and the legislators are in another party, the same party, incidentally, except the principal, who seems to be on his own.
On his own, partyless.
So what's going on, in your opinion?
It's quite, what is playing out in Rivers State is quite unfortunate, which may, if not properly checked, could pave way to a catastrophic consequences of an unpredictable dimension, and which will be bad for everybody. That need to call the lawmakers to order. For the first time in comparatively recently, we have a legislature belonging to a political party and the governor in the same political party. And the legislators are moving all angles to remove a member of their political party. It is quite interesting. But beyond this point, what is happening in Rivers State calls for a sober reflection, in the sense that there is a departure from the duty imposed on the legislatures by the Constitution and by the people of Rivers State in the social contract theory, which they executed and signed by the people when they were elected. What has happened today is the devastation of the mandate of the people. It's an abandonment of the mandate of the people, which we say ex abandonta siticuta. They are not empowered to abandon their legislative duties, which is principally to see law as an instrument of social development, law as an instrument of peace and harmony, law as an instrument of social engineering, that the end of lawmaking must be to touch the life of the people, protect the lives of the people, as the case may be. Now the governor has been devastated. The governor has put in a political quagmire, political gerrymandering, to the point that he cannot even perform all about, doing executive functions. Constitutionally started on him, but moving around on how to secure his seat. It is quite unfortunate.
We also have joining us Dr. Sam Amadi, Executive Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Dr. Amadi, this conversation is not the first time you're having this kind of conversation. But in the realm of politics, in the realm of political thought, some will say that after that emergency situation that was in Rivers State, all of these matters that the governor is being accused of had been taken care of in terms of budget presentation, illegal budget, or disobeying the Supreme Court, or even withholding salaries. If there's even news or, well, information coming in that they were actually paid by the interim administration all their allowances and salaries within that period. They were suspended before Governor Siminalayi Fubara resumed. But where are we now?
Well, thank you for having me. First is that impeachment is designed as constitutionally as a tool of political accountability. So the idea of giving legislatures the power to initiate and complete impeachment of office holders is a form of political accountability, and it's premised on the notion that political problems have political solution. So if, for example, it's possible that a governor, elected official, governor, deputy governor, could, so obviously and evidently, let his oath of office, misgovern. The Constitution gives the legislature the discretion to decide when to trigger impeachment. But the good thing is that because it's a tool of accountability, the same Constitution provides a check. The Nigerian system is superior to the US system. The US system, all the processes are political, which means the House, if it's for the President of America, the House of Reps convict you and impeach you, the Senate remove you. But in Nigeria, it involves two branches. So the legislature starts, now the court weighs in. And that's a saving grace, which means, even though in my view, I think there's perhaps no real gross misconduct in the classical sense existing now since the return of Fubara and the legislators. Maybe issues around not funding the legislature, if they are well established and gross, then that could pass. Or we've not seen clear case of constitutional infringement. So it's political, and a political solution is going to happen. So they're going to court. My worry is that again, like the French philosopher Tocqueville said about the democracy in America in his book. He says no sooner than political crisis become legal crisis. So it's ending up now to become a legal crisis. There's a court order. Maybe it will be another court to issue a different order. And they end up, not just that they misdirect the governor, they constrain, effective executive use of executive time, they entrench intolerance, and there's a showmanship and brinkmanship that pushes, the political system to a level of politicizing judiciary and judicializing politics.
Okay.
So the tool, that's political tool, will not turn into a judicial tool, and the court itself will become a political battlefield. So that's really the tragedy in this case. But I guess this will fail as well.
Okay, Dr. Mahdi, we'll take a moment, and Vincent, we'll take a moment. We'll go on a quick break. We'll come back and look at, is there a puppeteer somewhere who is pulling strings back and forth? But that will be when we come back from this break. Welcome back. Now, we still have Vincent Otakupu, a legal practitioner, here in the studio with us, and joining us virtually we have Dr. Sam Mahdi, Executive Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Vincent, before we went on that break, Dr. Mahdi talked about a legal solution. Now there's a court injunction, the legal solution to this political quagmire that you mentioned earlier. But would that really work? Because it appears as a puppeteer somewhere who's pulling strings.
So thank you for that question. First of all, I agree with my learned brother, Dr. Sam Mahdi, that the impeachment is an effective instrument for check and balances in a constitutional democracy. And you know that impeachment, as a principle of constitutional law, have received a legislative imprimatur under Section 188 of the Constitution. And Section 188, sub 1 to 9, provided a conditio sine qua non, which must be followed, a strict requirement of law which must be followed for effective exercise of a legislative process of removing a governor or deputy governor, and that must be followed. And it starts with the one-third signing of members of the House, signing a petition of complaint presented to the House. And what is done, there's a resolution adopting that, and for 7 days, it will be sent to the governor or deputy for their response, which they must do within 14 days. And if the response is sent back, then there's a resolution of two-thirds adopting it and calling for CJ to reach out to the speaker to reach out to the CJ to constitute a 7-man panel to look into it. And they have 3 months to look into it, and the fellow must be invited to be given fair hearing to respond to allegations. And if that is done, the panel will send their report back to the House, and the report must be proved, allegation proved or allegation not proved. If they say allegation not proved, that is the end of the matter. But if they say allegation is proved, the House will now, by two-thirds majority, adopt that result and they adopt the report, and the fellow stands removed from office. These are processes that the Supreme Court have held in litany and cornucopia of cases that it must be followed. Before now, Section 188, sub 10, have ousted jurisdiction of the court and said no proceedings with respect to impeachment of governor, of deputy governor, or president of vice president under Section 143 of the Constitution can be, or even a committee appointed for that purpose, can be entertained by any court of law in Nigeria. So the court decision has been ousted. Supreme Court have interpreted these cases, the locus casus case of Akintola versus Ademboro, which is, a 1963 case, when there was a... So up to the case of Abaribe versus Abia State House of Assembly. I'm coming. Now,
there's no time.
No, so that is there. But recently, Supreme Court have held in Inokoju versus Oyo State House of Assembly, that's a delicate case, with respect to Governor Ladoja, that you must follow the procedure. If you fail to follow it, it will be struck down. In this case, the court has given injunction. One, there are 2 cases pending in court, one filed by Fubara, one filed by Ngozi Odu at the State High Court, and there is 2 orders now, interim order, restraining the 32nd defendant, which is the CJ of Rivers State, from dealing with the subject matter of impeachment whatsoever until the matter is determined. So CJ, as a law-abiding citizen, all the House members and Speaker are parties, but the order is not directed to the House because they cannot be stopped from exercising their constitutional duties. But the order is directed to the Speaker, which is integral part of a constitutional process of removing a governor under Section 188 sub 5. So the governor, the CJ has been restrained, and in a democracy like ours, rule of law must triumph not only in our legal system, but in our body politics. Parties to litigation must accept decision of the court, order of the court in good faith, subject only to pre-processes available in law. And no party should employ self-help to disparage or disrespect the order of the court.
Thank you.
It must be respected.
Dr. Amadi, this whole thing now, the CJ has been restricted by a court injunction, but there has to be a solution, and the court injunction is just for 7 days. In thinking or preferring a solution, what do you think can be done? Would the lawmakers want to retreat and find a common ground?
The problem with this politically is that it's a zero-sum game. Zero-sum means somebody just wins, somebody just lose. And loss, Wike has articulated it as a loss is like capital punishment. So the solution is very simple. I think that is on both sides there are issues. So the governor is not dealing with the House in good faith and can't, because the House itself is not dealing with the governor in good faith, and that's the problem. Now, the good faith would be that the Governor General or self-acclaimed Governor Wike, who is going around openly saying, I brought this guy, I made a mistake, I must bring somebody who will protect me. So clearly, the crisis here is not a crisis about constitutional breach, which can be remedied, and the governor can promise not to breach them. It's a question of ownership. The Wike wants to own this government, feels he has a moral, ethical right to own it, falls back on assumed settlement by the president, whose enforcement would be decapitate the governor. And the governor doesn't want that. And the governor is fighting, and it's maximalist. The governor says the only way to survive, go for a second term, or whatever everybody does, is to throw away Wike's ownership of me. So solution then is someone has to accept, and I've said before on many occasions, that Governor Wike has to accept that in this politics, Nigerian politics, and by the way, there's a script with Tinubu who has kept Lagos. So Wike is trying to want to keep Port Harcourt in that sense. So, but unfortunately, the play of power is different. Unfortunately, his leverage is different from Tinubu, who has succeeded in keeping Lagos himself in a significant way. Unfortunately, Wike cannot keep Port Harcourt, it looks like. And the result is this attrition that you're seeing. It's just politics. And law, as usual, will be a handmaid of politics.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Sam Amadi, Executive Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thank you for coming in this evening. And here in our studio, we had Vincent Otakupu, legal practitioner. Thank you once again for coming in. Thank you. Now, let's come back to the FCT. As we all know, somewhere along the line, in the next few weeks, there's going to be elections, and momentum is building. Attention is shifting beyond party promises to the everyday realities being faced by the resident. In Kwari Area Council, issues of basic infrastructure, economic survival, and access to public services are shaping voter expectations. Remember yesterday, our correspondent Joshua Imari was there on ground and now has brought us a full package of what the people are saying in Kwari Area Council.
Kwari Area Council is one of the 6 area councils in Nigeria's Federal Capital 33, but has largely remained without electricity since November 2025. As the February 21 area council's election draw closer, residents say the restoration of power across all 10 political wards in the council should be a top priority for the next administration.
We never get light since last year, November 2025.
Presently, the entire area council had been thrown out into total blackout because of some activities of vandals. And I think apart from Bako, almost the entire communities up to Abaji have no light.
In communities such as Small Shed and Big Shed in Kilankwa Ward, residents say poor access roads continue to affect movement and daily activities, especially during the rainy seasons.
If you check the area council entirely, you think we lack infrastructures, basic amenities, talking about roads. We still have villages that are not accessible, and those villages bring a lot of agricultural outputs to this major city.
We would want the next executive chairman to begin to look at communities like Gadabu, Kwaita, Dangara, communities like Sheda.
So tell us about the water situation.
The water situation, so the people, they are struggling. Some that are going to down rivers there to use it, and it's not healthy. So we are calling on the government, they should help us.
The water, sometimes people that are selling water, they need to hunt their generator and the price is already cost. Sometimes we use jerrycan, go and buy the water, and some people, the truck always say 2,000 per truck.
Residents are also calling for urgent improvement in primary health care, noting that several health facilities within the area council are in need of equipment, personnel, and basic medical supply.
One of the challenges we have is we don't have enough workers. Because sometimes when we come to the hospital, you see patients are plenty, but workers, they are not enough. And if you check their labor room, there is no toilet. The other time I take my neighbor, she put to bed. There was no toilet. If you want to eat herself, she has to go outside. So that place needs to be fixed.
As the Kwali Area Council election approach, residents say their expectations are clear: improved road infrastructure, functional healthcare facilities, reliable electricity, and enhanced security at the grassroots. In Abuja, from the Central, I am Joshua.
Kwali is a unique intersection of ancient tradition and modern innovation within the FCT. It blends rich Gbagik heritage with scientific excellence, offering vast economic potential through its fertile soil and diverse, vibrant communities. Established in 1996 from Gwagwalada, Kwali covers 1,700 square meters in the southwest of FCT. It is a strategic gateway now supporting a fast-growing population estimated at 220,000 residents heading into 2026. Gbagi, Bassa, and Hausa tribes coexist in this cultural hub. It is the home of legendary porter Dr. Ladi Kwali. Residents excel in world-class pottery, traditional weaving, and ancient hunting practices. The agrarian community thrives on yams and cassava. Beyond farming, the land holds gold and premium clay. The Abuja Master Plan designates Kwali as a vital zone for industrial and educational development. Kwali hosts the National Mathematical Center and the Shetsko Research Complex. Key landmarks include the Federal Government College and the Ladi Kwali Pottery Center, which remains a premier global destination for arts and tourism. Leaders like Barrister Wodi, Honorable Gwamna, Honorable Shazin built Kwali's foundation. Today, Honorable Danladi Chia leads as the first two-term incumbent, focused on modernizing the council's infrastructure and public services. Kwali Central, Yangoji, and Sheda form the urban core. Surrounding wards like Pai, Dafa, and Ashara drive the agricultural sector, while communities like Dangara and Wako preserve the area's natural and traditional heritage. Welcome back. We have our correspondent Joshua Emari joining us. He's come back from Kwali and he'll be speaking with us in a bit. We also have here in the studio with me Paul, Dr. Moses Paul, who's a political and public affairs analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Joshua, let me start with you. What was it like in Kwali? I mean, you were there. Yesterday, we couldn't hear you very well while you were on ground. So just tell us what you found and the mood. Beyond what you put in the report, what you packaged, what you put together. Just tell us what it was like on ground.
Well, at the most, elections of the February 21st is nothing short but anticipatory. In as much as it is anticipatory, clear demands have been laid down. It will interest you to know that the over 200,000 people who are residents in Kwali Area Council have not had light since November 2025. This is the plight of so many Nigerians, particularly locals around that area. Of course, we know that area is mostly an agrarian community that has mostly farmers in that settlement and that area. And one thing that these farmers are saying is that beyond the city center that is all plush, prim, proper, access roads into this community, into their farmland, is not really in a good state. If you should look at some of the pictures we got on ground, they are not really something that speak well of Kwali, for a fact that that is one of the oldest local government in Abuja here. So this is what they are saying, that these demands should be met. The next administration that will come should focus more on connecting access roads, quality healthcare, and providing accessible potable water for residents who are in that area council.
Joshua, thank you so much. I mean, one would think that because of the location of things like the Ladi Kwali Pottery Center. I mean, Ladi Kwali is a renowned individual, a legend. And one would think that, and then we have the Mathematical Center in that location. One would think that attention should be given to such locations and help to build them up.
It is simply a lack of vision on the part of the local leaders. And this is why I think the FCT residents, as the elections, local elections are drawing closer, need to pay more attention. And it's time to go beyond the rhetorics of religion and tribe when we elect our leaders. And I'll give you practical examples. In Amak, for example, when you look at places in Apo, in some places in Lugbe, when you look at Piwoyi, even when you go to Karshi, when you go look at Jiwa, when you look at Gwagwa, there are roads that are completely impassable, especially during the rainy season. Parents can't even take their children to school. Traders cannot transport their goods. Ambulances can pass, so people literally die if they have to move sick people and all of that. So this is the danger, that we have to face when we deal with these issues. These are the livelihood of our people.
I mean, seeing that the president has, one of the key statements has been around the autonomy of the local government areas. One would think that we would be seeing examples of the autonomy of the local government in the area councils in Abuja, where we are seeing the chairman of these area councils doing and developing things as laid out in the Constitution, providing roads, taking care of schools, markets, and ensuring that those inner roads are properly, the feeder roads are properly taken care of. One would think that that's what we'll see here, but that's not the situation.
I mean, it's really bad because clean water has become, something that is far-fetched from the people, and this is really dangerous and unacceptable. And I'll tell you right away that one of the commendable efforts of the Tinubu's administration is a fight to ensure that we have the autonomy at the local level. But even what is available, taking the FCT and particularly Amak, for example, where you have markets which can make literally billions, the tenement rates, you have multiple taxations, you have, the attention, because primary school, which is the #1 human capital development index, right here we have primary schools being shut down, for months, teachers' salaries unpaid and all of that. You hear the testimonies of primary healthcare centers, that are completely abandoned, no toilets. You go to Lugbe here in Kapua, 200 children are sitting on the floor. You go to Tungan Nasser and Tungan Madaki, primary healthcare centers are all...
My colleague, Aisha, she went to Kuje earlier today. I think she's on her way back. I'm sure we'll get her by time before we finish this bulletin. But she went to Kuje, and one of the things she found is what you just mentioned.
Exactly.
Primary schools without roofs.
When it's raining, water just pours on these children. The one I encountered a few weeks ago when I was fixing some of the primary schools and providing seats for them, because I went to primary school here, as we're analyzing this, and 40 years later, children are sitting on the floor. We live in, this is 21st century, and it's unbelievable, but this is the reality of what we face.
Yeah, these ones are looking good.
These are good.
There is the other one that had no roof.
Yeah, there are many of them that are just, you can see that, shelters for goats and sheep and all kinds of things. And if you look
behind that looks like a major road behind it.
Exactly.
That means it's obvious to whoever passes there. Yes, within the same complex. That's
you can see all of that.
Within the same complex.
And we're talking about education. education in the FCT. This is a center
What
of the
is
country.
the problem? That's why, you know, the question I asked you was, the president has been preaching the gospel of autonomy of the local government.
That's right.
And we're not seeing that autonomy of the local councils in the FCT. What do you think is going on?
For me, primarily, especially that the elections are coming, and I think these are viable platforms for the FCT residents, for those who are here, to ensure that they participate in the choices of the people that lead them. When you have visionless people, people who do not even understand policy, people who are not there for real development, people who do not understand the value of education, the value of livelihood, the value of clean water, the value of healthcare, the value of transportation, the connectivity, what makes a real city, especially in the municipality. This is the #1 local council in the country.
Okay, hold on. Aisha has come back. Aisha, I understand you're in the building. Can you talk to us?
Well, we spent literally all day visiting some wards in Kuje Area Council, and I can tell you for a fact that some of the wards that we visited, it looks as if there's little or no government presence. I mean, we visited Gaube, we visited Chibiri, and some of the schools we saw in Chibiri community, you can see right from the pictures, the dilapidated school infrastructure. I mean, this is not even conducive. It's not a conducive learning environment for the school pupils and also the teachers there. And some of the residents have lamented and complained. Even we also visited the primary healthcare center still in Chibiri, and we saw little or no staff members at the primary healthcare center. As a matter of fact, we just saw one person at the primary healthcare center, and they talked about how this has been the practice here. There is lack of manpower for the primary healthcare center, you know, unavailability of equipment, and how much they need government to come to their aid. And they even mentioned that the primary healthcare center that was proposed to be built before now was not even completed. That structure is still under construction. And we moved forward to Gaube community, and it was literally the same thing. I mean, there are complaints of insecurity, and they mentioned that, as a matter of fact, last year, about 9 persons were kidnapped in that community, adding to the issue of insecurity in the FCT, where the locals now have to come together and form a vigilante group just to protect the community. Even there's issue of light. They don't have sufficient power infrastructures, no potable drinking water, no access to primary health care. We spoke to women there, and they also mentioned that whenever they have to give birth, they have to take motorcycles to neighboring healthcare centers just to access healthcare services. These are many demands from these residents. However, they are ready to go to polls by February 21, but they are saying, and they're mentioning that the next administration have to focus on their concerns and ensure that these demands are met eventually, just to make life bearable for them in the community.
Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you. Dr. Paul, you heard Aisha, and we've seen some of the things. Yeah, I just saw in one of those videos, the road is being built. But beyond the road being built, you see the chaos in the constructions and all of the other side.
That's right.
What do you think can be done? Do you think that with this next election, those that are coming to lead these local councils would do different?
The people must take ownership of the processes of the elections. Elections are much more than what people think. Now, the campaigns are on, and the residents are watching. Same people who are supposed to fix road, people who are supposed to fix the healthcare centers, those who are supposed to provide electricity, they're back to the people sharing hundreds and millions of naira, because the residents need to wake up, because what happens is either they collaborate to rig elections and have visionless people who will continue to perpetuate this same thing we are seeing, or they get to wake up and say no. And another vital key, area is the fact that when you look at Amak, for example, Amak is occupied. The president lives in Amak. So, you have the ministers are here, the National Assembly is here, all the diaspora embassies are here, you have professionals, you have professors, you have, all kinds of people, the bankers, the business, they're all here. If they don't come out and participate in local elections, they allow people who do not have visions to continue to lead them. The local elections are even more important because with autonomy, security is local, like we are seeing. Education is local. Health is local. Feeder roads, they're all local. So the insecurity that we see even in city center is the responsibility of the local leaders. The nuances and the ability to be able to dovetail using technology with religious and traditional rulers and connecting the value of the young people, providing, you know, the what you call the conversion of the energy, because you have a lot of young people who are jobless. You know, Amak, for example, does not have. They're supposed to be their lands. Where's the initiative of farms, of ICT, of tourism?
Sports centers, where they can go and express their energy.
You know, because energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. So the brigandage we're seeing, the kidnapping happening right here in city center, you're talking about Kwali and Gwawala. I mean, those are even, I'm talking about here, I mean, people right here in the center of the city, people are being kidnapped. People are being killed right here. We saw the anchor of one of the major news, this thing that fell off from our house because all of these things are happening because the local leadership that is supposed to connect all of these energies and give a facelift to the livelihood in all of this, you know, environment does not exist. So as they go to the polls on the 21st of February, I'm wondering, the local people should even coordinate debates. You have lived with these people. Now you want to reward people who have done nothing, who have stolen your money, you know, and they're now coming back and buying you pepper and sugar and salt and bags of rice. And then
money they could use to develop the area for you. They're giving it to you in pittance.
So Abuja residents, like they say, shine your eye, because in the next few weeks, we're going to see.
Dr. Moses Paul, political and public affairs analyst, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We do understand that you're eyeing one of these. Anyway, let's not say that. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, Museveni leads as tensions rise. Opposition alleges fraud. Details in a moment. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has maintained a strong lead, with the latest provisional result from the Electoral Commission showing him ahead with over 6 million votes, representing nearly 75% of ballots counted so far. News Central's Bongani Siziba is on ground with the latest. Bongani, updates, please.
Behind me is where results are being announced, and we just heard from the chairperson of the commission announcing the results coming from different districts. But let me bring in to the conversation a representative from the International Council of Churches here in Uganda. Hope that's correct. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Elections are done. We are now waiting for the results. We also have heard the commission announcing the third batch of results. Your take?
Thank you, Madam Bozani. My name is Dr. Joseph Sewada. I come from the Inter-Religious Council of Uganda. I think the incumbent will win. And there are so many reasons for that, but I think he will win because even with the younger people, you can tell that they still feel that the current president may help them get where they want to go. They see it. So because of that, he's likely to win. And if he does win, he'll win with a big margin. But the other thing is that the competence of those that came against him, the current president of Uganda is a very smart man, very, very clever. Not only just educated and up to date with information, but he's also very, very smart in terms of economic planning, in terms of leadership skills, the ability to negotiate and stuff like that. He's very, very, very smart. So to win against him, you would have to be very, very clever.
Thank you so much. We have had a confirmation there that the youth came out in their numbers to vote this time around. They didn't want to wait for the older generation just to be the ones voting. Also a confirmation that the expectations is that President Yoweri Museveni is going to retain his seat as the president of Uganda, but also a confirmation that most of the members of parliament lost their seats. Like he said that most of them, they didn't meet the requirements, but we know that most of the former members of parliament have lost their seat. So Uganda is expected to release the final results within 48 hours. So what we are hearing is that the results of the Ugandan elections that happened on the 15th of January might be released tomorrow, that is Saturday. So we wait and see. But so far here at the Tally Center, we are here just waiting if there will be the fourth batch of the results that will be coming out. It's now back to you in the
A senior United Nations official has warned that threats of military action against Iran, including remarks by U.S. President Donald Trump, are increasing volatility as the country reels from major anti-government protests. Addressing the UN Security Council, Assistant Secretary-General Martha Pobee said public statements suggesting possible strikes add an external danger to an already tense situation marked by repression and an internet blackout. The United States says all options remain on the table if Iran executes detained protesters. Iran's envoy accused Washington of exploiting unrest, while the U.S. official said they stand with Iranian citizens facing a violent crackdown.
President Trump is a man of action, not endless talk like we see at the United Nations. He has made it clear all options are on the table to stop the slaughter. And no one should know that better than the leadership of the Iranian regime. And I would like to address the allegation put forward by the regime that these inspired protests are somehow a foreign plot to give a precursor to military action. Everyone in the world needs to know that the regime is weaker than ever before, and therefore is putting forward this lie because of the power of the Iranian people in the streets. They are afraid.
Iran seeks neither escalation nor confrontation. However, any act of aggression, direct or indirect, will be met with a decisive, proportionate, and lawful response under Article 51 of the Charter. This is not a threat. It is a statement of legal reality. Peaceful protests that began on 28 December 2025 with legitimate economic demands were deliberately hijacked by organized armed groups and transformed into violent riots.
Context, we note with alarm various public statements suggesting possible military strikes on Iran. This external dimension adds volatility to an already combustible situation.
But that's it on the 6th edition for today and this week. But here's a recap of the major stories. We told you that the Rivers State High Court has halted impeachment process against Governor Pobee and his deputy. I also told you that Kuje residents are demanding practical governance, infrastructural solutions ahead of February elections in the FCT. And the Yoweri Museveni is taking commanding lead in Uganda elections as Bobi Wine alleges fraud. Let's hear from you. Send us your comments and eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number showing on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.